Mao, I'm excited to be talking to you, and I have to call this out to everyone listening and then watching us today. The excitement comes from the fact that you have been leading Comviva for last 14 years, and you've been in this space for more than 20 years, and Comviva has been operating for, I heard the word 2 decades, and I operate in the startup world. Somewhere Comviva has continued to stay ahead, continued to defy the different changes that have happened, and stayed relevant to its various stakeholders. It takes a lot, and there must be a lot of nuggets of learning in this journey. I want to ask you and begin with this, that if you had to look back at the last 14 years, the market has changed, India has changed. What were one or two things that you as a leader and Comviva as a company has done right to, stay ahead and stay relevant in this dynamically shifting market?
Thanks a lot, Shradha. And I think, you said it pretty much all in the last sentence of yours, saying dynamically shifting market. The definition of market is dynamic and shifting. There is nothing called a static market. It will not become a market. Now, coming back to the question you asked, it is interesting if you look back the 14 years I have been, or try to see through the lenses for the 20 years plus history of the organization. The organization started with the backdrop of as an incubation within the Bharti Group. And at that point of time, the larger vision Mr. Mittal had, I suppose, was, there is a lot of IT happening out of India, and the Infosys and the Wipros and the TCSs were raising their head. And he said that there is a lot of telecom happening, and he had that vision of, India growing big in telecom. He said, there's a need for companies that can cater to the innovation, the solutions, the technology needs of telecom service providers. And that's the primary reason why it started. And it was a rough ride in the beginning. In fact, in 2002, there was a moment when, the fail fast criteria was applied, saying, should we pull the plug or should we continue? There's a management buyout happened, got some money into the business, and we had, one or two major successes. The biggest bottleneck that we had at that point of time, we were known as a Bharti Group company. And trying to do business with a Vodafone or Idea or a Reliance or whosoever it is, the telecom players at that point of time, it was not easy because, I have had, without taking names, I'll tell you, I've had senior VPs of telcos telling me that given all things equal, we will do business with a non-Bharti entity. Given all things not equal, we'll still do business with a non-Bharti entity. So though we were an India-centric company, our domestic market became Africa because we got traction, we got success, and there was a headwind that we had in India. So we obviously focused, and that is how, when I joined the company, about 60% of our revenue was Africa. I would say Middle East and Africa. And in India, it was pretty much Bharti, but gradually people accepted that these are independent guys, they're doing independent business, and that barrier started breaking. But we were still predominantly a VAS company because VAS was booming. VAS at one point in time was 20% of operators' revenue. So we did everything that came under VAS, including messaging and content and things like that. But we realized that it's not here to stay. In fact, when the app economy was just about raising its head, in a meeting with Mr. Mittal, he told me, Mao, do something about your business. I can ruin your business in a given day, just in one day. I'll fund 3 or 4 app players who will provide the same thing that you're providing today, and no operator will touch you. And it hit very hard, and we came back and thought about it. So we decided that our flagship product at that point of time was the recharge product, prepaid top-up product. And we said that what are we doing in a prepaid top-up product? We are managing airtime as a wallet, how many minutes of talk. So when you give money to the retailer, we are adding more airtime to your wallet. When you talk, you're consuming your airtime from the wallet. And there was an airtime gifting feature that existed, that I could gift airtime to you if you run out of airtime. We said, why can't we just see it in a different perspective? Plus the distribution hierarchy, the commission management, and all that. We said, okay, what does it take to change the airtime to money? And that was the culmination of, in 2006-07 time, just about the time I was joining, of the mobile money platform of ours. The first customer was Grameenphone in Bangladesh. And then there was no stopping, because we did extremely well in the emerging markets and in financial inclusion market in Africa, in Middle East and Southeast Asia, SAARC. And we reached to a point, and at this point of time, if I were to quote some statistics, we are, I believe, the largest mobile money shareholder in telecom markets.
Wow.
We have more than 60 deployments and about 100 million wallets. So 100 million people globally use that product.
Wow.
Service to the recharge platform. So I think the aspect that I want to bring here is always looking for what does the customer need, listening to the customer very closely, and not willing to take the risk. We knew that if this fails, the company will be back to the 2001, 2002 era where we'll be talking about pulling the carpet, pulling the plug. But we knew if you don't, in any case, it's a question of eventuality.
Yeah.
So we really did well, grew well. Today we are in 120 countries, more than 400 deployments of our various products. We have from 100% VAS revenue, our VAS revenue is less than 20% today. Our mobile financial solutions is about close to 40%, 35, 40%. Our analytics and data business is about 20%, but the fastest growing segment. We have a digital BSS business, which is pretty large too. So we have transformed ourselves maybe every 4 to 5 years once in last 15 years. So you can say one era for Comviva is no more than 5 years. It changes very rapidly. And how do we sustain it? Disproportionate R&D investment for innovation. Very, very disproportionate R&D investments. We have invested heavily, and we are possibly one of the very few corporate incubation company which is not shy of investing. We possibly invested in a dozen or maybe 10, and only 3 have seen the limelight. 7 have died prenatal death. But that's the business. That's the business we are in. We have had a mobile money initiative, B2C initiative in Nigeria called Zoto. We had to kill the failures I'm listing. We had a music content app-based service called Mudit that we had to kill. We had a hyperlocal kind of consumer supply kind of a platform called Search that we had to kill. There are many. I'm just giving you a few examples. But the 3 that have succeeded, and the 4th one is coming up, is a TerraPay that we sold because of regulatory issues, but it's a very successful business, which is an international remittance. We took advantage of our mobile money platform deployed globally, the 100 million wallets deployed globally. So you could, from anywhere in the world, move money to your brother or sister in your hometown, typically in Africa, by using the 10-digit mobile number. You don't need to go to a bank. You don't need to open an account. You don't have to pay any expensive transfer fee or commissions to the banks. It'll come to the telecom operator, who will message you instantly. It's not a 3-day or a 4-day international money transfer. It's a instant, the speed of light kind of a transmission. You'll get a message saying your brother from UK has sent you money, and it's in your wallet. Go, if you want, you can do a cash out from a retailer or whatever you want to do. So second business is what we call a digital lending business. Again, leveraging the large mobile money deployment base. We know their usage pattern. We know their behavioral pattern. We know their consumption pattern. So leveraging that, we decide who are the credible people. And these are small ticket loans, $10, $15 loans that we give, and typically the cycle time is about a month or two. What it does is, suppose you have a child has to go to school and you don't have the school fee available to you at this point of time, and there's a lot of poverty in a larger part of the world. It gives you instant credit, and then you can pay it at your convenience.
Wow.
So that's called YABX, YABX. And the third one that is running is in the marketing automation space, which is enterprises use to engage with their customers, and that's called Factorial. And all these, the way we incubate is we have something called a software factory or a solution factory, and internally the best talents who come up with ideas are given the 10 or 20 core guys that they want to pull out, and we give them money and tell them to run with it. They call the CEO of that initiative. They are not governed as tightly, except we consider ourselves like a VC. We consider ourselves to be an investor into that initiative, other than the advisory role some of us play. And I think that has worked. That has worked reasonably well. There's a new one coming up, which is modern card issuance. So today, the credit card or the debit cards, rather, that are issued by, they're obviously under the banner of MasterCard or Visa or RuPay or something. So we will take a BIN sponsorship from a bank, and it will be either a MasterCard or a Visa card, but it will be the new company name. We are in the process of naming it. We haven't. We called it MCIP, Modern Card Issuance Platform. The card would be issued to an enterprise, let's say a Uber driver. Uber would issue that card to the Uber driver with preloaded money, but it'll only be, but the beauty of those cards are it can be customized to your usage. In a sense, you can't use that card anywhere else other than car repair shops and gas stations only. You can't go to a liquor shop and use that card.
Yeah, good.
Second, you can define the limit on each transaction. Third, you can define the frequency of that transaction. You can't be filling up gas 3 times a day.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of beauty. Many corporates or enterprises need this for their own staff or employees or whatever it is, which is not abused. Right? It's like, in a lighter vein and a pun intended, you can give a card to your wife, which is not allowed in jewelry shops. But
I'm taking it in a very lighter way only.
No, but this is for enterprises only. We will not issue these cards to individuals. Don't pay.
Yeah. To make this kind of journey, and you said that we innovate every, it's a different company, Comviva, every 5 years. You've seen that failure, but today you're standing so strongly with 100 million users in more than 120 countries. I want to ask you, as a team, as a leader who has been at the helm of it, what are some of the things that you did right? Because, at the end of the day, a software company is done by a leader, by a team. What journey have you made to make this happen?
So, Shradha, I think I'm being very honest, and I'm not trying to be humble here at all. I personally think the leader can only do this much. So I believe in a leader is as good as the team he leads. Do I influence the team? I'm sure to a certain extent. I can only tell you what I am. I'm not sure if everything contributes to success. I'm sure there is a mixture of bad decisions, bad behavior, good decisions, good behavior, and all that. But fortunately, the Sigma is turning out to be positive, and that's how we have, we are where we are. But to be, few things that I believe in a leadership style. One is I'm extremely hands-on. So I get to know what is happening, or I do spend and invest time and effort to knowing details both on the technology and the market side. I travel a lot. Barring the last 2 years, I engage with customers a lot, but I also engage a lot with our R&D folks and the product management folks on what are we building and why are we building. So that way, I don't think I add a lot of value there, but by being aware, I don't make stupid decisions. So just to ensure that I make the right decisions, I invest my time and energy knowing what could be wrong. And knowing that this could be wrong is possibly more important than knowing what is right.
Yeah.
The second, the second part that I do, which is uh, I trust and respect my team a lot and give them the room that they need. I possibly to the extent that, sometimes I'm told that you're giving far too much freedom and allowing some of the people to take you for granted. And I said that if I look back, 7 out of 10 guys I've given freedom have turned out to be the right guys, and 3 have abused, I'm still doing okay.
Yeah.
Just imagine me doing everything that is required to not people let me abuse. I will block those 3, but I will not enable the 7 that who could have made a difference.
Yeah.
And last, I have a lot of passion for my work. What I do, I do it from almost from the bottom of the heart with a lot of passion, a lot of energy, and I think it has a rub off.
Somewhere along the way, or maybe initially itself, but it looks like it has been a journey. What comes out is that agility and the mindset of innovation. You have to innovate, and maybe it's because of the, as we discussed, dynamically shifting market. Sometimes it's forced, sometimes it's internal. How have you inculcated it as a process in the company, this mindset?
Good question. But before that, I'll tell you that, I'm very scared of failures, extremely fearful. The reason I push myself to innovate is because I don't want to die for doing something for too long. And I don't think I have a vision to say that I can see 3 years ahead, 5 years ahead, what's going to fail. But I can feel that it's time to do something different. This is beginning to. So that comes from my customer engagement, market engagement. But coming back to the dynamism part that you talked about, I think the need for innovation is from customers and market who are asking. And as long as you are listening to your customers, you get bulk of the input. And what I have done is, people do what the bosses want them to do. If I ask my sales and business guys or product guys when they go to a customer site or engage with a customer that what was the customer wearing? There's a stupid example. Over a period of 3 months, everybody would be observing the dress, the shoes and the shirts and the brands people were wearing in a meeting. Similarly, when I ask them that, what is their current pain point?
Yeah.
What is hurting them? What are they looking for? And this is very contagious in a way that if you ask your DR, direct report, he will ask his DR, and then it percolates very quickly and it becomes a culture. But I think you didn't ask it in that sense, but I'll tell you that I've come to culture. The biggest challenge has been in building the right culture.
Across the world, that's the biggest, the leaders grappled with that the most. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, because I came from a different organization where it was very, very nice culture built over a long 15, 20 years. One tends to take it for granted. But then when you land up in a new organization and you see that, what is really lacking is that culture, then you start spending and thinking more about how to build that culture.
Yeah.
And Shradha, a little bit personally about me, out of context though, this is my 3rd job. My first job, I was the 3rd employee.
Which one was that? Which company?
C.
Ah.
Center for Development of Telematics. My 2nd job was Hughes Software Systems. I was the 5th employee. And my current job is, and all are more than 10 years each. My current job, I was possibly, there was more than 10, maybe there were about 100 odd employees, but I was still an early employee. So I, not knowing that this is what I'm good at, or maybe it is just a coincidence, I have done well in joining startups and growing them to a certain scale.
You are the operator.
Don't know.
No, that
Don't
we
know
should
that.
have. No, Mao, that we should have a separate interview and conversation on, because I think that's the framework we need as companies are scaling, right? We need very strong operators to scale the companies.
Yeah, I follow a principle of 40 on customers, 40 on employees, 20 on operations in an organization, my time. And I think it is far more challenging on the 40% on employees right now than on the customers. It's easy to talk to customers, understand their pain point, and not that easy to meet their expectations, but everything else is still quite doable. But understanding employees more so in a pandemic times, creating that emotional bond, it's a Herculean task.
Yeah. What would you say are some of the challenges that you experienced in a pandemic world when it comes to retaining the ethos of that culture, holding it together?
I think I must admit that I didn't know how it's going to impact, nor did anybody know how long is it going to be here. So when in March 20, this hit us hard on the 23rd and the 24th, it hit about 3 weeks before that to me hard. I had just come back on the 4th of March from a tour from Mexico. And on the 5th, I landed up in office and my HR VP walked up to me and said, "Mao, yesterday we have circulated a note saying any employee who is returning from an international trip has to self-quarantine for 2 weeks. So you're not allowed in office. Please go back." So reluctantly, I came back home and by the time I completed my 2 weeks, Mr. Modi had declared lockdown.
Yes. Wow.
And so coming back to your question, the real challenge that I faced first few months was euphoria. Wow, we are working from home, lots of freedom to do things your way and And this excitement about constantly being on the Zoom or on the Teams and things like that. But then I think somewhere 6 months, maybe September, October 20, the fatigue came in.
Yeah.
And I'll come to more damaging statistics in a minute. Then obviously all of us know what happened in April 2021. The Delta hit us hard. We lost near and dear ones. Everybody lost somebody or the other in the family. As a company, we lost few of our employees as young as 32 years old. And it was hitting us very hard and didn't know how to do about it. But suddenly we realized that people are very highly disengaged. There is no bond, no emotional connect. The feel of being a Comvivian had eroded significantly. And look at the stats. We have dealt with a 25% attrition, which is in 2 years, we have lost 500 people and necessarily replaced those 500 from the market. And we have added another 500, 220, 250. So about 500 more or less freshers from the campus. So in a 2,200 employee organization, about half of them are less than 1 year in the company.
Wow.
But not only less than 1 year, they've never seen anybody's face. They have joined at home and continue to work from home. So they only know their boss or the line manager or the project lead that they work with. Bulk of the interaction is there, and some of the colleagues that they have a necessity to engage.
Yeah.
But those not so needed kind of relationship that you bump into the coffee table or at the break or over a lunch table are not there.
Yeah.
So culturally, they don't know what is Comviva culture. And that's the freshers don't know anything because they come from schools, and the lateral hires only know what they came from their respective organizations.
Yeah.
And that's been the biggest challenge, how to create that, because it's not as if you tell your managers, guys, connect better with your employees, because the managers themselves are disconnected. And there is a need for, being patted. I recently posted something in LinkedIn about that, gone are those physical touch, patting somebody's on the back, saying good job. is not same as dropping an email saying great job.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's been the biggest challenge, I think, to keep people from a connectivity. We are trying to do everything that's possible, create some fun time, do stand-up comedies, but it's not replacing the true need of emotional connect. In fact, we have experimented with saying that can we give, come out with 2 or 3 slots in a week that there is no screen time kind of a duration, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. People are getting sick and tired of looking into the screen.
Yeah.
So, but I must say that we are struggling and we are learning every day there. We haven't, I won't say we have won the battle. We are still losing it every day, trying to learn little new things every day.
Now, everyone across, all the leaders, no, everyone across the world would say the same thing. But I don't think so. Anyone has the answer, though. At first time we heard the word hybrid and all kinds of things, but I don't know the future of work, what it is going to be. It's still open.
I mean, end of the day, it will be determined by what the workers prefer. I mean, as managers or employers, we can't determine anything. We can't go against the current.
Yeah.
But employees may prefer working from home. Employees may prefer working for multiple employers and get paid on a per job basis as opposed to being employed to a company and getting a monthly salary.
Yeah.
So that will give you variety, that will give you flexibility, and that will give you, do when you like. It's like, when the Uber came in, whatever, 5-6 years back in India, a lot of these guys were self-drivers, their own car. I used to ask them in one of those trips, and they used to always say that the most beautiful thing about Uber is, you're doing own business. You don't feel like driving a car for a given day. Just switch off the app and relax at home with family. So things may move that way, but I think it will be premature for anybody to even guess where it is going to go.
Yeah. That brings me to this question now that you're saying it. About Uber and the solopreneurs, and of course there's this whole conversation on gig economy, but all this brings me to the question: as Comviva, do you engage with young businesses, entrepreneurs, startups, and do you collaborate with them?
A whole lot. So what we do is we have the innovation cycle, or the innovation phase is a continuous phase where we are doing hackathons internally with our employees. We do sometimes joint hackathon with our customers, and necessarily we don't openly spell it out, but necessarily we are looking at the youngsters. Then we, the carve-outs incubation that I talked about, that we do with young leaders. But more importantly, we have something called a Next. We need a lot of solutions, but we don't build everything by ourselves. We need partnerships. We need, some niche competencies that go well with our overall solution. The asset that we have, in addition to a lot of subject matter experts in the company, we also have a fairly large customer base where we have very deep-rooted relationships. What can I give back, see it as a CSR, see it as a business need to the startup community, that we can give them, counsel them using our SME pool, which is not easy for a startup to get access to.
Yeah.
But we also take them to our customers, and nobody has easy access to customers like this. So what we do, this is a yearly phenomena. About last year, about 100 odd applicants would come in. We shortlisted 10, then went through detailed evaluation, and then while we said we'll support all the 10, but the top 3, we'll say these are the products that we will sell, bundle along with our solutions.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So we picked up 3, and because this is not a forum that I want to talk about their names and their ones, I'm just keeping quiet on them. But we intend to pick 3 every year through this market-driven process.
you passed out from BITS Pilani, and honestly, I love BITS Pilani because I feel it grooms a very holistic kind of engineers with different kinds. It's somewhere the left and the right brain activated. If you had to uh, go back today to all the students and people and engineers who are coming out of colleges across the country, what would you tell them about this digital world that we are living in? How should they look at their career?
Well, I mean, the T competency, right? There is a vertical competency and there's a horizontal competency. Most of us are not taught the horizontal. We are taught Java, we are taught Linux, we are taught, all kind of programming or other techniques. But if you see this T that I'm trying to show you, the horizontal is a lot of competency that you pick up in your college. But the vertical part of the T is what makes you a total, kind of engineer or a doctor or whatever it is missing as a formal curriculum. And some people are beginning to do it. But, few things that I did and I still do now, and let me go back and give my, due credit to BITS Pilani. I don't know many people who would have done. I did a course on technical report writing.
Interesting.
Wow. And
Hmm.
I was there doing electronics engineering, and why was I doing technical report writing? I used to curse myself because I'm not great in English. That why are you teaching me all this? What relevance does it have for my engineering career going forward? But today, if there is one thing that is most used, is the skills I learned there.
Wow.
And the second part is, in recent times that I picked up that we were not taught formally, but some workshops on storytelling.
Wow. In BITS Pilani.
Yeah, it was a very relevant skill, but too early for its time. Maybe we did not appreciate the meaning of it. What is a elevator pitch in 30 seconds and those? But after we got into job, we realized it. But these days, I realized that data visualization and data storytelling is extremely important. And to every engineer, I say, no matter what you do, you will ultimately deal with data. Data is pervasive, ever pervasive.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to consume data, how to explain data, how to narrate data in a relevant, concise, story way, you would be a failure. You could be a great engineer, but that's it.
Now, if I have to ask you, we are in January, sad January, because we are going through the third wave, but January has a hope about it. It's always that there's so much to look forward to. If I have to ask you as Comviva, as someone who is doing so phenomenally well, what are some of the things that you're looking forward to this year?
I think we are looking at refresh our innovation cycle. In a sense, accelerate it further. We have already picked up all the three areas I told you in the digital BSS space. We are looking at how do we go ahead of the curve. We are me too maybe there today to get to 5G and IoT and provide our business support solutions for that market ahead of time. And 5G BSS is not for telecom operators, it will be more for enterprises. Then the second one we are doing, we are on MX, the marketing automation of analytics or marketing experience management and analytics. But we are saying we want to gradually go towards what's a TX, a total experience management. So right now we are talking about managing CX, which is consumer experience, and BX, which is the brand experience. But we defined something. It will take a couple of years to get there, but we have a clear vision where we want to be. Is this frozen? No. I mean, it'll be stupid to say it's frozen. We review this every three to 6 months. And depending on which way the market is moving, the dynamic part that you talked about, we will adapt ourselves. We have no regret in standing up and saying, I made a mistake. Guys, I'm changing direction. Very proud of saying that. And that's what one thing I've created in this culture, that fail fast is a green tick and not a red tick on you.
Yeah.
It's not a taboo to fail in this organization. It's a taboo not to decide. It's a taboo not to move.
Yeah.
And on the digital financials, we are looking at how do we, we have done a lot on the telco space. We have done a lot on merchants and the distribution side. But we are saying, how do we take our mobile financial solutions to the SMBs, small, medium businesses? So there are many things that I'm talking about. I just don't want to give it away in a public forum, but that's the segment. There's a huge focus that's going to happen going forward. And on, I told you, analytics, digital BSS for 5G IoT, and digital financial solutions.
How do you, if it comes to prioritizing, because an effective organization is built on the legs of effective leaders. If I were to ask you, how do you prioritize your time and how does your day look like? If you can share with us.
Oh, I have been very lucky to have some very nice friends around who have influenced my life quite a bit. When I was starting my reading habits early. I come from a vernacular medium. I didn't study English medium. Wow. So I was reading an alphabet at a time to frame a word, process in my mind what is the meaning of the word, and go to the next word. So my overall effective reading was very slow. I had a friend of mine who is an IFS officer in sitting in a high commission kind of a role somewhere in one of the countries. He said that, "Tu itna slow kyun hai?" I said, "You tell me, how do you do it fast?" And he told me that try reading a line at a time, not a word at a time. It was painful, but once you do it, you realize that you're looking at the line in one go, taking the image, processing, the next line, processing. So you going line to line and not word to word. Similarly, the other thing that I have learned over the years is when you plan, the question that you asked, when you plan, my early days, I used to come every day in the morning to office, pull out a white sheet and write what are the priorities today. But then I went through a workshop with Stephen Covey on 7 Habits of Successful People. And I was lucky one to have gone through directly with him, the coaching.
Oh, so it's not the book. You met him and did this.
It was a workshop. It was a workshop. And so that the first principle is first thing first. So I still not been able to move beyond a weekly planning today and partially to a monthly, but I've not been able to go to a quarterly or a yearly planning. I pick up pieces of my agenda, which is my agenda, and plug them into the calendar first. And then I call my secretary and say, what are the other requests? Tell me, I'll see where to fit them in. So Suradip is here. He can tell you there are many times they'll come to my meeting and they will start their agenda. And you know what I tell them? This is my meeting, my time. Let me attend to my calls first. If time permits, I'll listen to you. Otherwise, you take your time separately. I think that's been very helpful to me. That I don't plan, because see, if you plan every day morning, you are spending bulk of your time on urgent and critical quadrant, which is basically, firefighting.
Yeah.
But the moment you plan a week or a month, you say, okay, 15 days from today, I'm going to spend half a day in learning this new technology. I will find time to make it happen because everything else will get adjusted around that calendar.
No, but what I'm hearing is that you're saying the more you address your agenda, then you are becoming efficient for every agenda and everyone around you.
Absolutely.
Agenda.
So I put it in a different parlance, in a management parlance. I try to spend more time on non-urgent but important quadrant rather than non-important and urgent quadrant.
And now, do you do anything extra to keep your mind mentally agile? Do you do any practice, anything physical fitness, meditation? What do you do outside of work?
I am very lucky to have been blessed with very good friends from my BITS Pilani days and otherwise who are in or around Gurgaon. Even in pandemic times, we had brought it down to once a week. Otherwise, we're meeting twice a week, every week for a couple of hours. Either we go to a Costa Coffee or a CCD or someplace. The idea is to get together. I think that's been my biggest unwinding. And other than that, I follow a lot of sports, a lot of them. So any channel, any sports, from golf to tennis to basketball to cricket to anything, I follow them very avidly. And that's been the other unwinding part of me.
No, but this is very important, because sometimes the journey is so long. How do you stay, while you are keeping the company agile, how do you keep yourself invigorated? And then these are some of the things that you do.
I'll tell you the pressure part of it that I really carry. I feel I'm responsible for 2,000 people. On an average, 20-25% of their pay is variable pay, success pay. If I don't deliver, it's my personal failure. And not that I've every time managed to deliver it, but I'm carrying that burden on my shoulder that somebody may be buying, some young engineer may be planning to buy a motorcycle when he gets his bonus, and because of me, he won't get it. And that's my drive.
It's your inner calling, right? Inner space that calls, because I don't think so many leaders would think like that.
I think it is true for quite a few areas. I'll tell you, I was doing a army wargaming project long back, and I was closely working with one of the major generals. Major general is just a level below, if you know the army hierarchy, the general itself. Major General Savarwal. So I asked him that, hey, you have come from a second lieutenant to a lieutenant to a major to a captain to a major to lieutenant colonel, brigadier, You have gone up maybe 20 steps in your ladder. Which layer was the most gratifying, most satisfying layer for you? He said, a brigadier. I said, why? And he said, a brigade is typically, brigadier's job is typically frontline job. And in a front, you are responsible for he and his family, the soldier and his family. So if a soldier's son is unwell, you are accountable. You are supposed to arrange to lift him, send him to the base, get him treated and get him back. If ration doesn't reach to a certain soldier's place on a given day, you are accountable for it. He says, when you get total responsibility in your mind, you get total satisfaction and gratification in your mind.
This has been such an inspiring conversation. Honestly, I didn't expect such a deep, nuanced, and such a meaningful conversation we'll have. Thank you so much. And I'm sure everyone watching this who'll watch this will have so much to take from this conversation. Thank you, Mao. And I'm looking forward to having more conversations with you.
Absolutely, Shradha. And thank you for your time. And I enjoyed it equally well.